launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Thursday, August 5th, 2021. Let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness.
Have you ever had someone send you a text that makes you do a double take because you're not sure if you read it right? And then when you read it again, you realize that you did read it right. So you just think, well, they must have made a typo. Well, that's what I did earlier today when someone texted me these videos of Hunter Labrada. Because since he won the Chicago Pro 2 weeks ago, he's allegedly already up 12 pounds on his rebound. From what I hear, the plan from Hunter's team is for him to push the food and the training hard for the next 3 weeks to see what his body does before they start to back off and gear things up for his Olympia prep. Between winning Chicago and finishing 8th in his Olympia debut last year, the bar already seems impossibly high heading into this year's show. But considering that he's pretty much shattered expectations over and over again, improving on that 8th place slot might not be as crazy as you think. With things at the Tampa Pro set to kick off less than 48 hours from now, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me over the last few days to ask who I see as the favorite heading into the Men's Open. And to be honest, I'm not sure where I'm at with that yet, but I will say this. People might want to start thinking about Maxx Charles as a potential dark horse here. Max looked great 2 weeks ago in Chicago, where he finished 3rd behind Hunter Labrada and Brett Wilkin. And truth be told, that's probably the best that Max has been since he placed 3rd at the Chicago Pro last year. So now that he's had a few more days to tighten things up, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if he came in with one of those vintage Maxx Charles performances and ended up walking out of there with the victory. Up to this point, I don't think we've talked about any of the athletes on the women's bodybuilding lineup for Tampa yet. So I figured this would be the perfect time to float a name out there for you to keep an eye on. Jada Beverly. She's moving up from women's physique, making her bodybuilding debut, and when we talked to her earlier this week, she told us that the combination of 2 knee surgeries during the off-season and making the move up to bodybuilding made this the most challenging prep of her career. But she and her team believe that they have a real shot to make an impact in this lineup. It's been a really interesting year in women's bodybuilding so far in terms of who we've seen step up and make a name for themselves. So if we see that trend continue here in Tampa, she could easily end up being the next in line. I know that we're still a few weeks away from needing to dive deep into the Arnold Classic coverage, but what Bryan Jones has been doing lately is too good not to share. Earlier this week, a source sent me these behind-the-scenes videos of Bryan training back and buys. And as far as I can tell, it looks like we might need to start mentioning his name in the conversations about potential winners there. For a lot of people, I think this 5th place finish at the Olympia last year was somewhat of a revelation. But at this point, I think it should be pretty obvious that it wasn't a fluke. This guy is the real deal in every sense of the word. And if he keeps improving at this rate, what we're seeing now won't even compare to what we could end up seeing a few years down the road. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.